After returning to office in January 2025, President Donald Trump swiftly reinstated aggressive trade policies, particularly targeting key U.S. trading partners, with a strong focus on China. On February 1, 2025, he signed a series of executive orders imposing a 10% tariff on all Chinese imports, set to take effect on February 4, 2025. The administration justified these measures by citing national security concerns and alleged unfair trade practices by China. In response, China announced on February 10, 2025, that it would impose retaliatory tariffs, including a 15% duty on U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, along with a 10% tariff on oil and agricultural machinery. Additionally, China launched an antitrust investigation into Google and imposed export restrictions on key metals such as tungsten, further escalating trade tensions. As tensions heightened, President Trump escalated his trade stance by announcing on February 27, 2025, that the tariff on Chinese imports would be doubled from 10% to 20%, effective March 4, 2025. This decision raised concerns over a potential full-scale trade war between the world's two largest economies, drawing comparisons to the U.S.-China trade disputes during Trump's first term. In retaliation, China imposed additional tariffs ranging between 10% and 15% on key U.S. agricultural products, affecting approximately $21 billion in trade. Beijing strategically targeted commodities that are crucial to the U.S. agriculture sector, but also have alternative global suppliers. While niche products such as chicken feet continued to be sourced from the United States, major staples like soybeans, pork, and grains became subject to higher tariffs. Specifically, a 15% duty was applied to items such as chicken, wheat, corn, and cotton, while a 10% tariff was levied on products including sorghum, soybeans, pork, beef, aquatic products, fruits, vegetables, and dairy. These measures were scheduled to take effect on March 10, 2025, with exemptions granted for goods already in transit until April 12, 2025. Beyond tariff increases, China took further steps to exert pressure on American farmers by suspending import licenses for 3 major U.S. soybean exporters. Chinese authorities justified these suspensions by citing the presence of contaminants such as ergo and seed coating agents in shipments of American soybeans. This action significantly restricted market access for U.S. farmers, further complicating their ability to export goods to China. Moreover, China initiated its first-ever anti-circumvention probe into specific U.S. fiber optic products, accusing American firms of evading anti-dumping measures. The Chinese government also expanded export and investment restrictions on 25 U.S. companies, many of which operate in sensitive defense technology sectors. These actions served a dual purpose, penalizing American businesses while simultaneously preventing the transfer of critical technologies that could pose a threat to China's national security. In an assertive move, China adopted a long-term strategy to systematically reduce its reliance on the United States by aggressively diversifying its import sources. Faced with increasingly unpredictable and adversarial U.S. trade policies, Beijing accelerated efforts to strengthen its economic ties with Canada, Europe, South America, and BRICS nations. This shift aimed to ensure stable supply chains for essential commodities and raw materials while mitigating potential risks stemming from trade conflicts with Washington. Canada played a pivotal role in this evolving trade landscape. Following the imposition of a 10% U.S. tariff on Canadian oil and gas imports in March 2025, Canadian energy producers sought alternative markets to reduce their dependence on the American market. In response, China emerged as a crucial trading partner with ongoing efforts to improve export infrastructure and deepen bilateral energy cooperation. One of the most significant developments enabling this transition was the completion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline Expansion, TMX, in May 2024. This project dramatically increased Canada's crude oil export capacity from its Pacific coast, nearly tripling throughput from 300,000 barrels per day to 890,000 barrels per day. With this enhanced capacity, Canada gained a more direct and efficient route to Asian markets, reducing its historical reliance on U.S. pipelines and refineries. The TMX project, long viewed as a cornerstone of Canada's energy strategy, now plays a crucial role in securing alternative buyers, with China emerging as the dominant purchaser. Between May and November 2024, China imported approximately 2.03 billion Canadian dollars worth of crude oil from Canada, marking a significant surge in trade compared to previous years. During this period, over 50% of all crude oil exports transported via the TMX pipeline were destined for China. This increase in Chinese purchases underscored a strategic shift in Canada's oil trade, as major Chinese energy firms such as Rongsheng Petrochemical became prominent buyers. The shift reflected China's growing demand for stable energy supplies, particularly amid global market uncertainties, and its broader efforts to diversify energy imports away from traditional suppliers like the Middle East and Russia. The deepening energy relationship between Canada and China extended beyond crude oil. The LNG Canada project, a large-scale liquefied natural gas (LNG) terminal in Kitimat, British Columbia, was on track to begin operations in 2025. Developed by a consortium including Shell and PetroChina, the facility was expected to have an initial export capacity of 14 million tons per year, with the potential to expand to 26 million tons per year. This development positioned China as a primary destination for Canadian LNG exports, providing an alternative supply to meet its rising natural gas demand. Beyond infrastructure investments, Canada actively fostered direct trade engagement with China. In November 2024, Canadian Indigenous business groups led trade missions to China, seeking to establish long-term partnerships in the energy sector. Organizations such as the Canada-China Business Council and the Indigenous Trade Mission played a central role in ensuring that Indigenous communities benefited from Canada's expanding role as an energy supplier to Asia. As part of its broader effort to diversify its agricultural imports, China also turned to European markets, particularly for meat products. Amid escalating trade tensions with the U.S., Chinese importers significantly increased their purchases of pork and other meat products from European Union nations, particularly from major suppliers such as Spain and the Netherlands. European meat gained prominence as a reliable, high-quality alternative to American products, making it an attractive choice for Chinese buyers. The European Union's well-established supply chains, stringent food safety regulations, and advanced production standards positioned European pork producers as key suppliers to the Chinese market. Spain, in particular, emerged as a leading exporter, with its pork industry benefiting from state-of-the-art processing facilities and strong government support for international trade. Similarly, the Netherlands maintained its status as a key pork exporter by leveraging its efficient farming practices and extensive trade networks. Beyond pork, China also expanded its imports of European beef and poultry, reinforcing its long-term strategy of reducing reliance on American agricultural goods while ensuring food security through diversified supply sources. This realignment of trade relationships was not limited to Canada and Europe. China also intensified its engagement with South America and BRICS nations as part of its strategy to minimize reliance on the U.S. Trade between China and Latin America reached approximately $489 billion in 2023. With Chinese imports from the region rising by 4.9% year over year, dominated by key commodities such as soybeans, crude oil, and copper. Brazil, China's largest South American trading partner, played a particularly significant role in this shift. Total trade between China and Brazil reached $165.7 billion in 2022, marking an 8.1% increase from the previous year. As China sought alternatives to American soybeans, Brazil emerged as the dominant supplier, accounting for over 60% of China's total soybean imports by 2023. Similarly, China ramped up its energy imports from Russia, Qatar, Australia, and Canada, further limiting its reliance on American energy supplies. As BRICS nations pushed for trade mechanisms that bypassed the U.S. dollar, China increasingly conducted transactions in local currencies, insulating itself from U.S. financial influence. China's strategic trade realignment carried profound consequences for American farmers, global trade flows, and geopolitical alignments. While the U.S. remained China's largest agricultural supplier in 2024, exporting approximately $29.25 billion in farm goods. Beijing's efforts to cultivate alternative trade relationships placed American producers in a precarious position. Without a resolution to ongoing trade disputes, U.S. farmers faced sustained revenue declines, forcing them to seek alternative markets in Southeast Asia, Africa, and India. However, shifting to these regions posed significant challenges, requiring adjustments to pricing structures, supply chain logistics, and market strategies. If trade tensions persisted, the long-term economic consequences for American agriculture could be substantial, altering global trade patterns and reinforcing China's move toward economic self-sufficiency.